Yoshino Somei's life is a Yakuza soap opera on steroids. She's barely settled into being born into a crime family when Grandpa told her she's marrying Kirishima, the grandson of his old buddy. Off she goes from Osaka to Tokyo to play house with this guy, who starts out all charming and Prince Charming-ish. But turns out, Kirishima is less dreamboat and more of a walking red flag. School's no better. She's bullied left and right and wants to hightail it back to Osaka. But Grandpa's advice? Oh, it's savage. Make him fall head over heels for you in a year, then crush his soul. If the men in her life are gonna be trash, she's gonna play the recycling bin and turn this mess into her comeback story. Alright, here's the deal. Yoshino Somei, the gorgeous but totally uninterested granddaughter of a Yakuza boss, is getting shipped off to Tokyo for one reason: to meet her new fiancé. Yep, her grandpa Renji, who's the head of the Somei clan, is desperate for her to find a man. She's 17, no boyfriends in sight, and grandpa's thinking, if she won't pick one, I'll pick one for her. Plus, he figures marrying her into the rival Miyama clan will seal a peace truce. But for Yoshino, she's mostly hoping this move means a fresh start, maybe even friends who don't give her the side-eye because of her Yakuza connections. Tokyo starts off better than she expected. She's greeted by the handsome boss of the Miyama group, Gaku, and his even more charming nephew, Kirishima, who takes her to her new home. He even mentions she doesn't have to go through with this engagement if she doesn't want to. No pressure, right? But Yoshino's intrigued. Kirishima's cute, a little edgy. Maybe this won't be so bad. She's determined to make it work, so they head off to school together at Orin Private High. It's an elite academy, and she's ready for a chance at a normal school life, hopefully without the constant Yakuza whispers. Normal lasts all of 5 seconds. The girls at school are not thrilled with her, especially since Kirishima is already a campus heartthrob. She thinks she's made some progress with them until they start grilling her about her connection to him. Flustered, she admits they might be living together soon, which doesn't exactly help her case. Her classmates turn on her, but Kirishima, he's cool as a cucumber, and it doesn't seem to bother him that people might judge him for being tied to a crime family. In fact, he seems almost proud of it. Later that night, Yoshino can't stop thinking about how Kirishima seems different. She sneaks a look out her window and sees Kirishima rolling up to her place covered in blood, looking way less charming and way more cold-blooded Yakuza. This guy? He's not the friendly type she first thought. Her bubble of Tokyo fantasy is definitely popping, but she plays it cool the next day and even invites Kirishima to go shopping with her. Things get intense when she gets cornered by some thugs in an alley, but Kirishima swoops in and beats them into oblivion. He tells the thug that stay away on Yoshino or else die. He's not exactly smiling this time. In fact, his scary side is fully showing now. Yoshino tries to brush it off, but it only gets worse. He straight up tells her she's only good for her looks and might as well sell herself to make some cash. Yoshino, obviously, isn't about to take that lying down. She seriously considers leaving Tokyo, but her grandpa has other plans. He suggests that if she's going to stay, she should make Kirishima fall for her hard, then break his heart and walk away. Fast forward to Yoshino coming back to school with a whole new attitude and a bag of cash from selling one of her kidneys. Because, hey, he's nothing if not petty and dedicated. She confronts Kirishima and, with a straight face, asks him she should sell herself while handing out the money. The girls who bullied her are watching, and she doesn't let them off the hook either. Kirishima, instead of being mad, is totally into it. He's basically drooling over this feisty, fearless side of her and practically proposes on the spot, even telling her that her attitude gave him a boner. Meanwhile, Gaku Miyama, Kirishima's uncle and the Miyama clan leader, gets a call about the chaos his nephew's stirring up and just sighs. Now that Kirishima has met his match, he's never letting Yoshino go. The next day, Yoshino is just trying to find a quiet spot to eat her lunch in peace, but Kirishima has other ideas. Every place she picks, he somehow shows up. She finally settles on a bench outside the school, and wouldn't you know it, Kirishima pops up, leaning out a window with that cheeky grin, claiming that his love for her guided him right to her. Smooth move, maybe, if it wasn't for the fact that he's actually been tracking her. Yep, turns out he snuck a GPS module into her electronic dictionary. Naturally, Yoshino's reaction is to snap the dictionary in two, but Kirishima's far from offended. Instead, he cheerily reminds her that his grandpa needs them both for a family meeting that night. Lucky Yoshino. This meeting, however, doesn't go as planned. The Miyama family elder is a no-show, so he sends two men, Inamori and Tachibana, in his place. They're there to warn Yoshino and Kirishima that Shiori, the Yakuza clan's daughter, has gone missing, and it's serious. Yoshino's told she'll be sticking to Kirishima, or Inamori, like glue for protection. She's horrified, but Kirishima? He's positively thrilled at the forced togetherness. Later that evening, Kirishima and Yoshino grab dinner, where Yoshino confronts him, wondering just what it is he loves about her, especially after all he's put her through. Kirishima, completely unfazed, says he loves everything about her, especially her icy attitude. It's clear Yoshino doesn't buy any of it, but Kirishima's totally serious, or so he says. Then, he finally spills the beans about Shiori, this spoiled, rich girl he met a couple of years back. Turns out, she's probably run off or been kidnapped, maybe even sold. Yoshino's told him that they could be next, but Kirishima's more amused than concerned. After all, he's just the adopted grandson of the family, taken in when he was 12 because his real family couldn't handle him. The next day at school, Kirishima is hanging out at her desk again, sharing more info on the case. Apparently, Shiori's been gambling, which led her to owe some serious money to some dangerous people. Naturally, Yoshino asks how Kirishima knows all this, but he just dodges. Soon after, Yoshino's in a car with Inamori, who hints at just how wild Kirishima was as a kid, with rumors about him taking down a gang of middle schoolers single-handedly back in 5th grade. Then, in a surprising twist, Yoshino spots Shiori outside a club. She calls Kirishima, and they meet up planning their entrance. Inside, they find Shiori in way over her head. She's messed with the Filipino mafia, owing them a whopping 500 million yen, and she's pretty much out of options. Just then, more of Shiori's goons enter, and one shoves Yoshino, giving her a bloody nose. Now Kirishima's in full Yakuza mode. He goes berserk, drop kicks the guys, and even stabs one of them in the eye with a fork. Yoshino, not to be outdone, smashes her hairdryer over another guy's head. After all the chaos, Kirishima hugs Yoshino from behind, mumbling that he's too upset to care about anything else. Yoshino's told him to get a grip. The next day, things aren't much calmer. Kirishima shows up battered from a talk his grandfather had with him about the ruckus they caused, but Kirishima doesn't mind. Instead, he gives Yoshino a bag with 10 million yen as an apology and casually mentions he'd been considering selling his kidney to pay her back. Yoshino's told him to forget about that and just want a new hairdryer, and ropes him into coming with her to buy one. As they head out, Kirishima catches sight of a familiar guy on a motorcycle who seems to recognize him too, but rides off without a word. The next day, Kirishima is spending time with another girl, which sounds fine until you realize he's literally lying with his head between her legs. Now, instead of focusing on, the actual girl he's with, he's going on about Yoshino. He's showing her secret photos he took of Yoshino, and the girl is so over it. She tells Kirishima to get a grip and maybe give up on this impossible crush of his. She even hints that Yoshino probably has a secret boyfriend back in Osaka, but Kirishima? Nope. He insists he's not just fine with that possibility, he's excited about it. The man actually wants Yoshino's love life to be complicated because it'll make things interesting. If Red Flags had a mascot, it would be this guy. Then we head to Yoshino's room, where she's peacefully asleep. Well, until she starts feeling that creepy sensation of someone watching her. At first, she thinks it's her grandfather because she's so used to his looming presence. But she's in Tokyo, so there's no boss Somei here, only Kirishima, sitting in her room and watching her like she's a painting in a museum. Instead of immediately flipping out, she just sighs, because at this point, she's basically immune to Kirishima's insanity. But the next day, she realizes she could get back at him. After spotting a kitchen knife, she hatches a plan. That night, Kirishima's back, staring at her as she sleeps, with a fresh bruise on his forehead. As he starts braiding her hair, braiding her hair while she's pretending to sleep, Yoshino finally snaps and attacks him with the knife. Kirishima dodges with ease, pins her down, and as if this was all totally normal, asks if she's hurt. Yoshino's fuming that he's just breaking in and watching her like a weirdo, and Kirishima's genuinely confused. He tries to explain that he just wanted to see her when she's not mad, because apparently, no one looks angry while they're asleep, so it's his only chance to look at her without getting glared at. And to Kirishima, this makes perfect sense. Yoshino, beyond frustrated, gives him a lecture on boundaries. But she knows abstract concepts like the law and privacy don't make sense to Kirishima. So instead, she keeps it simple. Stop breaking into my room because I don't like it. Kirishima takes this seriously and even admits he worries Yoshino hates him. In his twisted way, he's genuinely trying to figure out how she feels about him. Yoshino, being Yoshino, tells him it's easy to be mad at him because he's always breaking the rules and getting hurt, like tonight, when he has a cut from getting punished for breaking curfew. Kirishima just laughs, saying he actually likes it when Yoshino's mad. It's fun. It's also fun for him that Yoshino notices things like the hickey he has from another girl. Yoshino tries to shrug it off, saying he's free to mess around with other girls because he's not the guy she likes. But if he was, she'd kill him without a second thought. Kirishima, unfazed, basically says, challenge accept. Next day, Kirishima brings Yoshino a package from Osaka with photos of her father, who she never knew. For a moment, it's a genuinely sweet gesture, and Yoshino is surprised that he actually has a considerate side. But that's short-lived because Kirishima's soon filling her in on a major Yakuza assembly that's coming up, a sort of Yakuza convention where bosses from across the region discuss their operations and goals. He warns her to stay out of it as if these two have ever stayed out of anything. But Yoshino, knowing this world all too well, just files it away for later. And now, enter Shoma. Yoshino's childhood friend from Osaka suddenly shows up, and he's as protective and level-headed as Kirishima is chaotic. She tries to explain Kirishima to him but struggles because, really, how do you describe someone who's a self-destructive, masochistic, womanizer with a fake smile? Shoma isn't exactly thrilled by her description, but he listens carefully, concerned for her well-being. When he realizes just how unhinged her life has gotten with Kirishima, Shoma offers her a way out that involves killing Kirishima. Yoshino, stunned, laughs it off and says it's not that bad yet. But Shoma, He's dead serious, saying he'll be ready if she ever gives the word. While Shoma steps outside for a smoke and strolls Kirishima right on cue. He wastes no time confronting Shoma, who's caught off guard. Kirishima, in classic fashion, calmly points out that there's no smoking allowed here, introduces himself, and stands there, unfazed. Shoma's eyes narrow, because he can see right through Kirishima's deceptively relaxed act. And just like that, we're left with a bizarre, high-stakes love triangle brewing. Shoma, our resident broody guy, is standing outside a hotel room smoking a cigarette like he's auditioning for a noir film. Inside the room, Yoshino, resting up after who knows what kind of day. But peace doesn't last long because up strolls Kirishima, the ultimate chaos bringer. With his smug grin and stalker tendencies, he introduces himself like it's a friendly meet and greet. But Shoma's not buying it. The vibes are off. Shoma immediately demands answers. How'd you even find us? Are you following us? And Kirishima, king of unbothered responses, shrugs it off with a vague maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. Super reassuring, right? Kirishima isn't just here to creep around though. Oh no, he's got plans. He casually drops that he's here to take Yoshino home since it's late. But he's not following anyone's orders, he's just that dedicated. Shoma isn't having it. He starts grilling Kirishima, asking what he's really after. And Kirishima basically admits he's manipulating Yoshino's granduncle, Gaku, while playing the long game to stay close to Yoshino. Why? Because she's irreplaceable to him. Romantic, maybe. Unhinged, absolutely. To top it off, Kirishima points out that if he marries Yoshino, he'll be Shoma's brother-in-law, which sends Shoma into a silent rage. Just when you think a fistfight is inevitable, Yoshino bursts onto the scene, annoyed and demanding to know why Kirishima is even there. Turns out, he's been tracking her because of course he has. The guy cloned her phone. Yoshino asks why he couldn't just text her. Kirishima responds with his signature nonchalance. Answer, there's no fun in that. She's clearly irritated, but he doesn't care. She reluctantly agrees to leave with him, which prompts Shoma to step in, grabbing her arm and insisting that maybe she should go back to Osaka with him. His reasoning? Kirishima's crazy. Not exactly groundbreaking news, Shoma, but we appreciate the concern. Now it's Kirishima's turn. He grabs Yoshino's other arm, turning the whole thing into a bizarre love triangle, tug of war. Yoshino's patience is running thin, so she tells them both to cut it out. She appreciates Shoma's concern, but assures him she's got it under control. Fast forward to the next day, and Yoshino's at the train station seeing Shoma off. She takes a moment to ask what he really thinks of Kirishima. Without missing a beat, Shoma replies, he's crazy guy. Yoshino, nodding in agreement, admits she's not ready to leave Tokyo just yet. She has her pride and her plans to deal with first. Shoma doesn't understand why she's risking everything over something as intangible as pride, but Yoshino doubles down, saying that without her pride and honor, she'd have nothing. Shoma, resigned, hugs her goodbye, promising to figure out what Gaku's up to back in Osaka. Oh, and guess who's lurking in the shadows, watching the whole heartfelt farewell? Yup, Kirishima. Because of course he is. Back in Tokyo, things get even weirder. On a crowded train, Kirishima and Yoshino end up standing way too close for comfort. She notices his warmth and body heat, which would be fine except he's also radiating this silent rage. Turns out he's still stewing over a random comment she made about Shoma. Yoshino's convinced he's mad, but when she looks up at him, he's smiling like everything's fine. Spoiler alert, everything is definitely not fine. Later that night, Yoshino finally calls him out. She jokes about what would happen if she started dating Shoma, and Kirishima's response, cool, but make sure to do it where I can watch. Afterward, I'll kill him. Yoshino is horrified. She realizes he's not just jealous, he's completely unhinged. Kirishima, however, doesn't see the problem. In fact, he asks if he should become a normal guy to make her happy. Yoshino's reaction? A hard no. If she's stuck with him, she'd rather he stays the craziest bastard in the world. At least then, she knows what she's dealing with. The next morning, Yoshino wakes up sick with her annual summer fever. She texts Kirishima, thinking he'll leave her alone. Wrong. 3 minutes later, he's at her door, out of breath and holding a bag of sports drinks like some kind of unhinged delivery guy. She tries to tell him to relax, but he's adamant about checking on her every hour. When she stops replying to his texts later, he freaks out and tries to leave school early, but Yakuza business gets in the way. By the time he finally shows up at her place, Yoshino's fever is dangerously high, and she's barely conscious. Kirishima doesn't waste a second. He bundles her up in blankets, calls for backup, and rushes her to the hospital like some twisted knight in shining armor. The next morning, after her fever breaks, he's on the phone with boss Somei, assuring him Yoshino's okay. The boss thanks him for looking out for her, but you can tell Kirishima isn't doing this for anyone but himself. He's obsessed, plain and simple. Yoshi's stuck in this whirlwind of chaos, pride, and unpredictability. She might not fully understand why she's staying in Tokyo, but one thing's for sure. Her year with Kirishima is going to be anything but boring. Kirishima looking like a total wreck. Why? The man didn't sleep. At all. Turns out he's got some heavy baggage from his Yakuza days. He's not a fan of sleeping around other people. He's too used to always watching his back. Yoshino, bless her heart, offers him a hot meal and even her futon, being her usual mix of kind and bossy. But Kirishima, ever the drama king, dramatically insists he can't possibly relax because he's convinced Yoshino might just kill him in his sleep out of sheer love for him. Yoshino, rolling her eyes so hard you can practically hear it. Fires back and told him she doesn't even like him. Kirishima looks stunned, but not like in a bad way. It's almost like he's impressed. Or maybe he's just realizing he's a sucker for Yoshino's no-nonsense attitude. Still, Yoshino feeds him anyway, because she's not a monster. As she forces him to eat something with actual protein, probably the most caring act of aggression ever, she starts venting about her exams. She's especially worried about math, which she totally sucks at, and missing school while she was sick hasn't helped. Kirishima, Mr. Surprisingly Smart, offers to tutor her, but Yoshino denies the help. Nope, not happening. She'd rather suffer through equations solo. The conversation shifts when Yoshino casually mentions she's meeting her cousin Tsubaki soon in Yokohama, and Kirishima, ever the protective shadow, insists on tagging along. On the way, Yoshino drops some juicy family tea. Tsubaki isn't just her cousin, she's her half-cousin, the product of a classic Yakuza-style family drama. Grandpa Somei, their shared relative, had a mistress back in the day, and Tsubaki is the granddaughter from that affair. Kirishima, ever the overachiever, has already done his homework and knows all about Tsubaki. He even throws out some fun facts about her bougie international school and rich kid lifestyle. Yoshino just laughs and says, "Wow, sounds like she's your type." When they finally meet Tsubaki, she's exactly what Yoshino described, princess-like, prim, and so gorgeous it's borderline unfair. Even Yoshino can't help but feel a little jealous. The trio spends the afternoon exploring Yokohama, and as they chat, it's clear there's a lot going on beneath the surface. Tsubaki immediately clocks how attentive Kirishima is to Yoshino. He's constantly making sure she's comfortable, hydrated, and not stressing too much, basically the ninja boyfriend she never asked for. Meanwhile, Kirishima learns Tsubaki's got some serious player energy. Turns out she's juggling multiple boyfriends at once and seems to view relationships as a casual hobby. Kirishima can't decide whether to be impressed or horrified, but then Tsubaki turns up the chaos. She asks totally out of nowhere if Kirishima and Yoshino have done the deed. Oh, and she casually adds that if Yoshino ever loses her virginity, Tsubaki would totally sleep with the same guy as a sign of sisterhood. What? Even Kirishima looks thrown, and that's saying something. Then, as if things weren't weird enough, Tsubaki starts gushing about how perfect their shared grandfather, Renji Somei, is. She practically worships the guy. Things take a serious turn when Yoshino gets called away for a school emergency, leaving Tsubaki and Kirishima alone. Kirishima, never one to waste an opportunity, dives straight into interrogation mode. He starts asking about her dad, who runs a sketchy hospital rumored to be involved in illegal organ trafficking. Kirishima brings up Yoshino's supposed kidney removal, revealing he's been quietly investigating it for ages. But here's the twist. The scar he found on Yoshino wasn't deep enough for an organ removal. Tsubaki comes clean, admitting there was no kidney taken. Instead, they drained 1.5 liters of blood from Yoshino in exchange for the 4 million yen she desperately needed. That's why Yoshino thought she'd sold her kidney. It was all blood loss messing with her head. Kirishima, in true Kirishima fashion, decides this is the perfect moment to casually admit he's been head over heels for Yoshino since before they even met. Creepy? Romantic? Who knows? Tsubaki doesn't even blink. She just gives him a cold warning. If he ever messes up and turns into a true scumbag, she'll make him disappear. Kirishima and Yoshino debriefing about the day. Yoshino gushes about how much she trusts Tsubaki, while Kirishima just smirks and casually mentions he swapped contact info with her cousin. Because, of course, he did. Tsubaki casually drops a bombshell. Kirishima once said he traveled all the way to Osaka when he was 12, just to see Yoshino. Naturally, Yoshino is in shock. Tsubaki, ever the instigator, suggests Kirishima may have liked her even back then. Yoshino, rolling her eyes, says, "Nah, he used to think I was just some spoiled brat. I'm pretty sure he's just infatuated now, not actually in love. Honestly, if I did like him, he'd probably get bored of me immediately. Dude's all about the chase." She even adds that easier if he just keeps being his usual psycho self. Then Tsubaki asks her if they ever talked about his exes. Yoshino, getting all awkward, admits they haven't. Tsubaki jokes that they've skipped the dating phase entirely and are already acting like a couple of retired old folks. She urges Yoshino to figure this thing out, pronto. At school, Yoshino catches Kirishima chatting with some girls and immediately assumes they're trying to flirt with him. But no, the guy's apparently discussing summer guide duty. Kirishima explains he may break the law, minor crimes like torture, but he's weirdly committed to obeying school rules. Priorities, right? Yoshino, feeling a little sheepish, admits she thought the girls were trying to ask him out. Kirishima shuts that down, saying he's been turning everyone down lately. Why? Because, according to him, Yoshino is his first real friend. Yoshino's left completely flustered, realizing she's been firmly friend-zoned but not really. Later at a party, the gossip squad is all abuzz about Nao, a child actress who dumped her boyfriend after he accused her of being too attention-hungry for joining a beauty contest. The girls hype her up for the breakup, but now internally shrugs, fully aware they think she's manipulative. Not that she minds, she is the most successful one in the room. Enter Kirishima, who shows up out of nowhere. Now introduces him to the group, and he casually mentions he might attend her upcoming event in Osaka. Now plays it cool, but her inner monologue reveals a juicy secret. She and Kirishima spent nearly every day together during her last summer break in Japan. Alone in the bathroom, now reflects on how much she's changed since then, while Kirishima assures her he won't spill their history to anyone. Before leaving, he hands her his contact info like the smooth operator he is. Fast forward to Yoshino and Kirishima heading to Osaka. Yoshino warns him not to start fights with the locals, even if provoked. After some shopping, they take a cab but get interrupted by Shoma, Yoshino's childhood friend. He's there to pick her up for lunch, and she sends Kirishima off with the shopping bags. Meanwhile, Kirishima unintentionally charms the local grannies, who literally give him an allowance because they think he's cute. At Yoshino's house, she shows him around and takes him to her room. She tells him to chill while she heads downstairs, leaving him to admire her handcrafted trinkets. She even offers him one, which is both adorable and totally unexpected. But just as he's settling in, Kirishima gets a message from Now. After dinner, Kirishima insists on leaving to stay at a nearby hotel, brushing off Yoshino's offer to let him crash at the house. Meanwhile, Shoma warns Yoshino to be careful around Kirishima, hinting that there's more to his intentions than meets the eye. That night, Kirishima meets up with Nao, who coyly admits she messaged him just to see him. When she asks if he has a girlfriend, Kirishima confesses he's got someone he thinks he likes. While he's in the bathroom, Nao notices his phone and spots his wallpaper, a picture of Yoshino. Jealousy? Activated. That's the end of the recap. Let us know if you want part 2 by leaving a comment in the comment section down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to avoid being virgin forever. See you guys in the next video.